You came home to a crime scene, and the couch cushion is completely shredded everywhere. There's stuffing scattered across the floor, and your new shoes are in pieces. The corner of the wall, somehow, has been gnawed and damaged beyond easy repair. And your dog is sitting in the middle of it, looking at you with that expression. An expression that reads, to you, like pure guilt and shame for what happened. You're furious, and you assume they knew this was wrong from the very beginning. You might yell, you might point at the damage and demand an explanation right now. And your dog tucks their tail, lowers their head, and slinks away from you. Which confirms it in your mind they knew, and they did it anyway on purpose. That's defiance, that's revenge, that's a dog who needs to be corrected immediately. But researchers studying canine destructive behavior, separation distress, and neuroscience will tell you otherwise. They'll tell you something that contradicts almost everything you just assumed about your dog. Your dog didn't destroy your couch because they're mad at you for leaving them. They didn't chew your shoes to get back at you for being gone too long. And that guilty look you're interpreting as remorse is not guilt at all. That's a fear response to your anger, and your dog has no idea why you're upset. What they know is that when you come home to mess, you get loud and scary. So they're trying to appease you before it escalates into something even worse. The destruction isn't revenge, it's communication. And it's communicating something is deeply wrong. Let's start with the guilt myth, because this one derails understanding faster than anything else. Guilt requires a specific cognitive ability that dogs simply do not possess at all. The capacity to reflect on a past action and recognize it violated a known rule. That requires episodic memory, a concept of time, and a theory of mind. Humans develop this around age 4 or 5, but dogs don't develop it ever. A landmark study by Alexandra Horowitz at Barnard College tested the guilty look directly. She had owners leave the room after telling their dog not to eat a treat. In some trials, the dog ate the treat. In others, the experimenter removed it. When the owner returned and was told the dog disobeyed, the dog showed the look. The guilty look appeared whether they'd actually eaten the treat or not at all. The look wasn't about what the dog did, it was about the owner's reaction. The dog was reading your body language, your tone, your facial expression, and responding. Lowered body, tucked tail, averted gaze. That's not guilt, that's please don't hurt me. And if you've been punishing your dog for destruction after the fact, nothing is learned. You haven't been teaching them not to destroy things. You've been teaching them something else. You've been teaching them that your arrival is unpredictable and sometimes dangerous for them. So now let's talk about why the destruction actually happens, because it gets specific. Destructive behavior falls into a few categories, and intervention depends on which one. The first and most common category is separation distress when you leave the house. When you leave, your dog's stress level spikes. They're not calm. They're not bored. They're in a state of acute anxiety, and the destruction happens within 30 minutes. Usually within the first 10 minutes, and it's focused on exit points like doors. Things that smell like you, shoes, clothing, the couch you sit on every day. The behavior isn't random, it's targeted, and it's not about entertainment at all. It's about panic and research into canine separation. Anxiety shows destruction is a primary output. The dog isn't thinking about ruining the couch, they're in fight or flight mode completely. Adrenaline is surging, the nervous system is screaming threat, and energy must go somewhere. Chewing, digging, scratching, those are all displacement behaviors to reduce the internal arousal. The destruction is a symptom. The problem is the anxiety, and punishment makes it worse. The second category is understimulation in a young, high-energy dog left alone. If you're gone for 8 hours and your dog hasn't been walked or enriched, they're not going to lie quietly on the floor. They're going to entertain themselves. And what's entertaining to a dog? Chewing, shredding, digging, those are natural behaviors. In the wild, they'd be foraging, exploring, hunting, in your living room, dismantling the couch. That's not malice. That's a bored brain looking for stimulation and finding it. The solution isn't punishment, it's more exercise, more mental enrichment and puzzle toys. Scent games, training sessions, something that uses up the energy funneled into your furniture. The third category is teething and exploration, and this applies almost exclusively to puppies. Between 3 and 6 months, puppies are teething and their gums hurt constantly. Chewing relieves the discomfort. They're not being destructive. They're self-soothing their pain. And during adolescence, between 6 and 18 months, dogs go through a second phase. They're testing everything. What can I chew? What happens if I pull this apart? They're not defying you. They're learning about their environment the only way they can, with their mouth. And if you don't provide appropriate outlets, they'll default to what's available. Your shoes, your table legs, your remote, that's not revenge. That's normal development. The fourth category is the one almost nobody talks about, and it's frustration-related destruction. This happens in dogs who've been inadvertently taught that they can't control any outcomes. Learned helplessness sets in when they've tried to communicate and were completely ignored. Maybe they signaled they needed to go outside and nobody listened or responded. Maybe they've signaled distress before and nothing changed, so they stopped trying to communicate. Over time, the dog stops trying to signal and starts acting out with destruction. The destruction is the behavioral equivalent of a meltdown. It's not planned revenge. It's the release of pent-up frustration from a system that feels completely powerless. And here's the part that ties it all together in a way you must understand. Dogs don't understand delayed consequences. They cannot connect events separated by hours. If you come home 6 hours after the destruction and punish the dog for it, they have no cognitive framework to connect your anger to the thing they did. The maximum window for associative learning in dogs is seconds, not minutes or hours. If you didn't catch them in the act, the moment is gone, and learning stops. They can't learn from your reaction hours later. All they learn is something else. All they learn is that sometimes, when you come home, you're angry for no reason, and they have no idea why you're angry, so they become anxious about your arrivals, which increases their overall stress, which makes the separation distress even worse. Which increases the destruction. You've created a feedback loop, making the problem worse. So what actually works to stop the destruction and help your dog feel better? First, identify the category. Is this separation distress, understimulation, teething, or frustration? The intervention changes completely depending on the root cause you've identified. For separation distress, the fix is desensitization and gradual exposure to being alone. Start with seconds. Build to minutes. Create a history of safe departures and returns. It's slow, it's boring, but it works and it addresses the actual cause. For understimulation, the fix is exercise and enrichment. A tired dog is non-destructive. 1 hour of physical activity, 20 minutes of mental work, puzzle feeders, scent games. Suddenly the couch stops looking interesting because the dog's needs have been met. For teething, the fix is management and redirection. Put away anything valuable to you. Provide appropriate chew items like frozen carrots, rubber toys, and safe antlers. Redirect the behavior to acceptable outlets instead of trying to suppress the natural drive. For frustration, the fix is predictability and agency. Give the dog more control, more routine, more clear communication about what's expected. Let them make choices. Reduce the learned helplessness by responding to their signals when they communicate needs. And across all categories, the one thing that never works is punishment after the fact. It doesn't teach the dog not to destroy things. It teaches them you're unpredictable. It teaches them you're dangerous, and that makes everything worse for both of you. There's one more layer, and it's the one that reframes the whole situation completely. When your dog destroys something, they're not trying to hurt you or punish you. They can't think that way. Their brain doesn't work like that at all. What they're doing, whether anxiety, boredom, teething, or frustration, is trying to cope. They're trying to cope with an internal state they can't regulate on their own. The destruction is the output. The internal state is the actual problem to solve. And if you focus on punishing the output without addressing the state, nothing changes. So the next time you come home to a shredded couch, take a breath first. Ask yourself, when did this happen? Within the first 30 minutes of departure. That's separation distress, random times throughout the day. That's boredom and understimulation. Is this a young dog still developing? That's normal teething and exploration behavior. Is this a dog who's been ignored when they signaled needs? That's frustration and helplessness. Identify the cause, address the cause directly, and stop interpreting destruction as personal attack. Because it's not personal, it's a dog doing the only thing they know. When their brain is overwhelmed, understimulated, in pain, or feeling completely powerless, they're coping badly, but they're coping the only way they know how. And with the right intervention, they won't need to cope that way anymore. If this changed how you see that destroyed couch, subscribe and drop a comment. What does your dog destroy most often? And when does the destruction usually happen? And if you've ever wondered why your dog refuses commands, they clearly understand perfectly. That's the next video, and the cognitive science will show you it's not stubbornness, it's intelligence, and it'll completely change how you approach training your dog forever.